For the longest time, the only ways of getting Sonic the Werehog in toy format was getting the small figure or the big figure, the plush made by Jazwares, which I don't have because it's hard to find, this plush by GE, which looks marvelous, and other small things that seemed kinda cheap, and it didn't seem like we were ever gonna get merch based off of him ever again. Psych! We're finally getting a brand new Werehog figure from Jakks Specific, and it looks great! Took them long enough, but they finally did it. And I found out about this 2 days ago, thanks to this community tab that I randomly spotted. And to think I just bought these two figures, and I thought they were gonna be the best figures Jakks Specific had to offer for this franchise. Oh yeah, and we're getting another variant of Sonic, but this time with the soap shoes. Yeah, you kids can have fun with that, but I'm here for Werehog, as he quotes from his game.
Oh yeah, that's right, baby!
Let's go!
Let's talk about Sonic the Hedgehog action figures. Between the early and mid-2000s, Sonic merch was having a bit of an identity crisis over who was going to be the true master toy partner for the franchise. The toy brand kept jumping between companies like Jazwares, Joyride, Toy Island, and Jazwares, aka the GOAT. This was around the time where your parents had to drive you to some very hard-to-reach places to find the kind of toys you wanted as a kid. Especially toys designed around iconic video game franchises and such. You kids are spoiled like crazy these days because back in my day, toys for your favorite franchises and mine were not easy to find, or at least to me, it wasn't. Ugh, I'm already getting some Vietnam flashbacks because just like many other kids in the 2000s, I would see all these videos of people showing off their Sonic toy collections, and it made me way more jealous than you can ever be. Not to say that I didn't have any Sonic merch growing up, because I did have a handful of them, but more often than not, it would just be a typical figure or plush of just Sonic that would either be bootlegged or official. And for the figures I did have, they would easily break more often than not, so yep, that's how you know that it was mostly the Jazwares figures I owned. Nowadays, just by taking one quick look at my dresser, it's no shocker that I have an addiction towards collecting these things. Jazwares simply did what most other toy licenses kinda didn't do for Sonic, and that was go all out with variety. From figures based on Unleashed, Black Knight, Colors, Riders, to Superposers, the adorable JUVI figures, the giant posable figures, and the freaking comic book packs. Man, Jazwares knocked it out of the park with their Sonic line. And it's a damn shame that I've lost and broken most of the ones I've bought over the years. Thankfully, I still have my 3-inch Sonic figure in pretty decent condition. He's adorable. I love him. Then after 8 years of endless satisfaction, Jazwares unfortunately lost the Sonic toy license, which sure as hell wasn't abrupt at all. We never got a Rouge figure from them! Now was the time for another toy company to step in and give their take on Sonic merchandise, and Tomy was the choice Sega decided to go with. Which is kinda ironic considering Tomy actually made the very first Sonic plush in existence. Around that time, the mainline Sonic series was on a bit of a hiatus, and by a bit, I mean a long as hell hiatus that should have ended once it started. Anyway, Sega wanted to do a soft reboot of some sort for the franchise, which explained why they referred 2014 as the Year of Sonic. And thus, Sonic Boom was born, which was totally pleasing critics and fans by the start and end of it. Seriously, was a full-on reboot of the franchise really necessary? Was the runaway success of Generations among other games not enough for you, Sega? I mean, I love the TV show and all, and I think it's the best cartoon the franchise had to offer, but come on, guys. So much for the idea of earning the company millions and creating a whole new legion of loyal fans. Oh, right, Tomy. Sorry, my bad. Their first set of Sonic merch in general didn't start launching until late 2014. And of course, they kicked things off with Sonic Boom figures. Now, to give credit where it's due, the Sonic Boom figures were quite decent and fun to collect. For a while. Hell, this was the only time we've ever gotten figures for Orbot and Cubot. Seriously, why don't these two dunderheads get their own figures anymore? Years would go by, and the Sonic Boom figures and merch overall was just getting lazier and lazier with each new wave. Ah yes, because we really needed a figure of Tails covered in oil. The only time Tomy really got good was at the tail end of their Sonic lifespan. They were mostly known for producing the Sonic Boom and Classic era figures, which I sorta liked but lost interest shortly after, unsurprisingly. It wasn't until everybody's favorite game, Sonic Forces, where they would only now start making figures for the standard modern era. And what did we get? Sonic, Knuckles, Infinite, Zavok, and, the modern Tails figure with the stupidly designed legs! They eventually did do comic book packs like Jazwares, but it just felt really lazy and didn't feel all that special. Neither did they sell any exclusive figures with them. Did I mention that to my knowledge they never sold the modern figures in single packs, but instead bundled them with the classic figures, which I know for a fact most people already had? Overall, while I don't hate all the figures Tomy made over the mid to late 2010s, there was so much potential left to be desired, and yet they sacrificed confidence for obedience. Them constantly delaying the release of certain figures didn't help in the slightest. I wasn't even that fond of it from the start because they were the company to quickly pick up the Sonic brand after Jazwares lost it in 2014, and the Boom figures certainly did not make up for that to the shock of absolutely no one. The Sonic aisles at Toys R Us did not hit the same as they used to anymore. I was in elementary school around the time this happened, and when I walked into the store in 2014, I was distraught by the lack of Jazwares Sonic toys. I was a kid around the time, so you couldn't really blame me. All hope seemed lost for Sonic merch collectors such as myself, but there was one light of hope at the end of this very, very long tunnel. In 2019, it was announced that Sega of America signed a deal with Jakks to be one of the new producers for Sonic toys. This made me really happy, since Jakks was already known for making spectacular figures for a majority of other franchises like Mario, Pokemon, and Apex Legends. And I've gotta say, they started off very strong by giving us these bendy figures, which looked pretty cool, except I was never able to get my hands on any of them. Soon enough, they made a second wave of these bendable figures, and this one included Super Sonic, with yellow arms. Later down the line is when they would start designing actual figures, and these look perfect. Wow, a Tails figure that I can call good and not cringe? Was this really that hard for you, Tomy? I would call this the best looking Tails figure, but nah, that goes to Jazwares' Superposer Tails figure. Man, I wish I had that. We even got full-on playsets and dioramas like the Death Egg, for example, and it astonishes me that this was never done before. Not even around the time Generations came out in 2011. They also made figures of the characters with sports attire with either soccer balls or basketballs, which was kinda strange, but hey, I'll take these over the Boom figures any day. It just felt good that I was able to buy Sonic merch again, because after 2017, I slowly lost interest since most of the merch Tomy made around the time was either disappointing, or I just couldn't get them since my parents were poor. Or maybe it was due to the fact that I was still in school around the time and had no source of income then. Sheesh, I'll never forget how bad that all felt. Most of the time, Jakks would mostly re-release figures until eventually making a Mighty the Armadillo figure, which was a first. Impressive. See? They care. Out of all the master toy partners, Jakks definitely had the best first impression on the brand. They did eventually start giving us classic figures while at the same time giving both sides of the Sonic brand the same treatment. And then 2021 arrived, which was the 30th year of Sonic's existence, which means even more figures on the way. Like this 30th anniversary 3-pack with Eggman, Sonic, and Mecha Sonic, which I actually did an unboxing video of back in the day. I'm glad they went with this decision and didn't go with Metal Sonic, as that would have just been way too predictable. And then things started to slowly die down a bit. The only things that are kinda worth mentioning are the racing figures, along with them continuing to re-release more of the 2.5 figures, but that's really it. We needed something else by this point. We did get collector figures along with the ones that change faces, but it sure felt strange how Sonic has a numerous amount of characters and yet we've hardly gotten any figures of them yet. As for those 2.5 figures, they just resulted to toys you'd see in the checkout lane at Walmart or something. Then out of complete nowhere, they started giving us stuff like Chaos, Big the Cat, Vector the Crocodile, and a large amount of other characters that rarely get merch.
That's what we've been waiting for!
It's what we wanted all along!
Keep in mind, the last time we've ever received figures based off of characters such as Silver, Blaze, Vector, and Jet was during the time Jazwares still had the Sonic license. This was very much needed. Jakks was finally showing us what they were made of. And speaking of that, Neo Metal Sonic has gotten the action figure treatment too. I mean, as much as I hate Sonic Heroes, I couldn't deny that this was something incredible. Even the Chow and Badnik figures were putting smiles on people's faces. Their Infinite figure is vastly superior to the one Tomy made, all because we can actually see his left eye when he looks forward, which the other one struggled with doing somehow. Also, if Mephiles getting a plush wasn't already insane enough, they went ahead and made a figure for Mephiles the Dark. Jakks realized all along that what we wanted from a Sonic toy line was for the designers to just go crazy with the roster of characters along with the variants. And it kept getting better and better all throughout the next 2 years. The only poor choice I can come up with off the top of my head was releasing these neon-looking things. Seriously, what were they trying to go for with these ones? They look so stupid. They didn't even last long or do that good, which is even funnier. Oh yeah, and Omega got his very first figure, which I own, because of course I do. We finally got Team Dark in figure format, guys. Then in 2023, we eventually started getting figures based off of Sonic Prime, and despite my relationship with the show now, I was thoroughly impressed with the stuff we got from Jakks. I've already bought a few of them, and I don't even have every single Prime figure, I just bought the ones that stuck out to me the most. But hey, as a former fan of Sonic Prime, I won't pass up the opportunity to give these figures the attention and respect that they very much deserve. And now we've got the Sonic movie figures, and do I even need to say it? Yeah, I do. These are marvelous! Although I do think they should have expanded the cast of characters from the movies that can get figures like Tom, Maddie, and even Wade. I don't care. But at least we now have a figure of Agent Stone thanks to this new 2.5 figure pack that just came out a while ago. These 3 variants of Sonic are also quite appealing all the same. They did not have to make the variants look this good, but Jakks is just full of surprises. This even carries over to the movie 3 figures. At the moment, the only ones I have are the new and improved Sonic and the Shadow figure that comes with his motorcycle, the Dark Rider. It's always a treat for single figures to come with huge accessories. The Sonic figure especially is quite an improvement over the movie Sonic figures they made before. The movie 2 versions weren't bad by any means, but when comparing it to the new ones we have now, it's pretty clear on which one is well worth the money. For some reason, I always thought that these figures had joints that were a little too stiff, but the same can't be said for the new one though. But hey, at least they had elbow joints, which is more than I can say for most of the standard figures. The movie 3 variants had better joints, better sculpt, beautifully realistic eyes, and has better appeal overall. And this is just the standard one, they even made variants of the figures that glow. That is what I'm talking about. People also saw the release of 2.5 figures based on movie 3 as well, and that's great and all, but that Sonic figure creeps me the hell out. Seriously, why did they design his eyes like that? Of course, there's also the giant talking Sonic figure, which is vaguely similar to how Resource made their giant talking Sonic figures. That's neat. Oh, and figures based on the Metal Virus arc from IDW? Okay, we're getting somewhere, even though I haven't seen this figure anywhere so far. Hey, Jakks, just a heads up, you can try doing comic book packs too, just like Jazz and Tomy did, just saying. Now we're brought back to that brand new Form 3 pack, which I still refuse to believe is actually being put on shelves out there. Never in my life did I think that they would have the guts to give us another Werehog figure. Given how many times you see me praise Unleashed on a day-to-day basis, you should already know how ecstatic this makes me feel by now. Nor did I think we would get a variant of Sonic with the soap shoes, high-speed shoes, rail grinding shoes, or whatever Sega wants to call them. All of this just further establishes how far we've come in collecting this stuff. Remember when Sonic would take up an entire aisle at Toys R Us in the late 2000s and early 2010s? Well, we can kiss those days goodbye now since he only takes up a quarter of the toy aisles in Target. But I feel most of the blame can go to the stores themselves with their shitty stocking skills and not the toy companies. Jakks Pacific does have the power to be the best toy partner for the Sonic franchise. The Prime and movie figures and even the IDW figure are proof of that, and I'll gladly continue to root for them. Now back to that figure pack, I don't know when the hell I'll be able to get my hands on it, but I won't rest till I do, you can be sure of that. It's a breath of fresh air to have a new figure pack that's kinda not just the same characters we've already had before. Like the typical classic Sonic figure pack, or the overly glossy and shiny looking modern Sonic pack with Super Sonic. Plus, I don't even have a Jakks Super Sonic figure yet somehow, so now's my best chance to get him. Yeah, I prefer going out in the open to find stuff like this instead of just ordering online, cause I'm not that lazy. Plus, this new pack will surely fly off the shelves, which could entice the company to do more creative stuff like this. Well, this was not on my list of good outcomes to happen at the start of 2025, but I'm glad we're at this point in time now. Overall, I think it's safe to say that Jakks Pacific has gotten much better with their Sonic the Hedgehog toy line, and I'm willing to confirm that they are on par, if not better, than Jazwares. Of course, that opinion is just mine and may very well vary depending on whoever you decide to ask that to, but that's just my thoughts. Besides, I'd say Sonic collectors such as myself are in a really good place right now. As a kid, one of the things I really wanted to do was fully express my love and gratitude for this franchise because of how much it's given me, and now, as a 20-year-old, I'm finally living that dream. There are so many ways of showing that you care for a particular franchise, and buying merchandise is not even the half of it. If you want to collect Sonic merch, by all means, go nuts. That is, if you have the money and aren't suffering through financial losses, of course. It doesn't even have to be just figures. It can be plushes, clothes, chains, statues, literally anything. It doesn't matter. Anyway, that's all there really is for this video. I kinda just wanted to revisit and go over most of the Sonic figures we've gotten over the years, even ones outside of Jakks specific. All I really have to say is I really hope Jakks doesn't lose the Sonic license anytime soon, because that would break my heart. I highly doubt it'll happen anytime soon though, since they've already owned it since 2019, and they seem to grow stronger with every year that passes. 2023 and 2024 were truly the highlights for this toy line, so let's hope for even more interesting and unique figures from here on out. Like, what if we get Tangle, Whisper, Black Doom, or even Sage in the near future? That'd be hella awesome. And I could be just spitballing now, but maybe figures based on the Titans and Frontiers? Come on, that'd be sick! Another thing I feel Jakks should do is release more figures in other places like the UK, since apparently they barely sell any of the new releases there for some reason. Feel free to let me know what you think about the Jakks-specific Sonic figures, or just Sonic figures in general by any toy company. And be sure to share your memories of collecting Sonic merch over the years too, because I'd love to hear them. Anyway, thank you guys for watching, comment, like, and subscribe if you enjoyed, and have a nice day.